Welcome to the Lifting Lindsay show. Today, I'm going to be talking to you all about, can we predict fat loss, or at what rate or speed or time can we see fat loss in, right? Not to spoil it for you, but the answer is no. No, we can't. And I think it's really important to talk about this though, because recently, in the past few months, I've had a few people reach out to me telling me that they were very frustrated, that their body's broken, their metabolism is broken, all of these things are broken about themselves, and it's why they can't see fat loss. And as I started asking them a ton of questions and trying to figure out why they thought that way, I found out that coaches and trainers and friends and well-intentioned people in their lives, I'm sure, were telling them that they had to see X amount, or they should be seeing X amount of fat loss during a certain amount of time. In fact, one woman told me that her coach pretty much told her, I don't know what to do. You're not seeing fat loss like you should be, so your metabolism's probably broken. So I started asking her questions. Well, were you seeing fat loss? Yeah. Okay. At what rate were you seeing fat loss? And she told me, and I was like, well, it sounds like you're completely normal. It sounds like you're completely normal. You're normal. There's nothing broken about you. We all want to see fat loss at much faster rates. We all want to see muscle growth at much faster rates. Man, we're not very good at being patient though. And it's a shame when it comes from coaches. When coaches are putting such pressure on people that they actually think that there's something wrong with them. So let's look at the research and what some research out there has said about this very thing. In 2021, 23 trained individuals, both men and women. I love that it was men and women in this group. They were put into a 20% calorie deficit for 10 weeks. And as you can see right here, this is the different ranges that they all saw fat loss. Okay, it's like all over the board here, guys, right? They all, over a 10-week period, saw massive different rates of fat loss. We're talking about 1 kilogram to 9. That's insane. Around 2-ish pounds to 19 pounds. Some only losing 2, some losing 19, right? That is a huge difference. So I just want you to know, one, it's completely normal to see fat loss at a different rate than your friend or your brother or your sister or whomever. It's completely normal. And some of the best advice when you are going into a fat loss phase is to put on blinders and not worry so much about what's going on with these people, and just worry about you and what you're doing and what you can control and how your body is responding. That's it. But I also did want to talk about, why the stark differences? Why is it that some people saw 2 and some people saw 19? So I'm just going to throw out some reasons why we see such different rates of fat loss. One reason can be how lean or maybe overweight were the people when they started the fat loss phase, right? So if you have somebody who comes in to fat loss phase and they are 40% body fat, more than likely they are going to see higher decreases in body fat at a greater rate than somebody who starts a calorie deficit at 19% body fat, who's already healthy and just now kind of wants to get that last shredded look. The rate that somebody with higher body fat percentage is going to see, it's going to be much higher rate than somebody who's coming in with lower body fat already. So that's a huge reason right there. Another reason that I think is often overlooked is dieting history. So if somebody is a chronic dieter, they're always trying to live in a calorie deficit. Well, we are going to see some down regulations in some thyroid hormones. And I want to speak specifically about T3 because T3 is directly tied to metabolism. When your T3 levels are not in a healthy range for you, then you may see lower fat loss or lower speeds of fat loss during your dieting phase. This is why living in a diet, like so many women do, is so horrible. because we have to spend more time in maintenance so that our hormones, especially the thyroid and T3 levels that are directly linked to your metabolism and how fast you may see fat loss, can increase and get in a really good position. So this is why I'm constantly encouraging women, spend shorter amount of time in fat loss phases and more time in maintenance where your body can really thrive and get into a really good, healthy position. There have been some studies showing that happens around 3 to 4 months of maintenance, and then you can go back into a calorie deficit. You don't want to spend all year in a calorie deficit and go up to maintenance for 1 to 2 weeks and then think, oh, I touched maintenance. Now I can go back into a calorie deficit. No, this hasn't given your body enough time to get in a really healthy place where then we can go back into a calorie deficit and see some really good results. So dieting history can play a role in this. Another one that we just can't get away from is how compliant were these people, right? Compliance is hard. Getting a plan, getting a fat loss plan and a training plan and a cardio plan, that's the easy part, guys. That's the easy part. The hard part is actually following the plan and getting to a place where you can be really compliant with the plan. An issue that I oftentimes see is when it comes to comparing. Let's go back to talking about comparing and the evils of comparing, right? So the main problem I see is that we do have this bell curve here where majority of us are average responders. And yes, even average responders, we're all sitting here thinking this should be happening faster. I wish I could lose weight faster, or I wish I could put on muscle faster. That's just average. You're just an average person. We all want it to go faster, right? Now, the problem is there's really only very few low responders and very few high responders. Most of us, majority of people, are going to be average responders. The problem is most of us compare ourselves to who? To high responders. Those that are dropping weight really, really fast. Those high responders with genetics for I don't want to say easy fat loss, but maybe they see it faster, or maybe they see muscle being built faster. These are high responders. And usually these high responders do really well on Instagram or on social media or building big platforms like that because they have some really great genetics. So there's all these average people comparing to these people with great genetics who are high responders. And then they're all wondering like, why aren't I seeing it faster? Right? Well, because you're normal like the rest of us. And it takes the rest of us a lot longer than it does high responders. Now, I know what you're thinking right now. I know you're thinking, well, I'm a low responder. The likelihood of you being a low responder is this big, okay? So the truth is you probably are an average responder. And just like the rest of us, you got to learn to be a little bit more patient in the process. So in conclusion, guys, we really can't force or predict a certain amount of fat loss or a certain amount of muscle being built. We can only provide an environment and conditions for these things to take place and then give them time to do so.